look with their eyes, and listen with their ears, and comprehend with their minds, and turn and be healed. So, after you read the first side, you think, what in the world does this mean? What is God asking Isaiah to do? It does seem like that God gives Isaiah an impossible task to preach and teach to people who are probably not going to listen to him anyway, but he's to do it. And not only that, but Isaiah is to preach and teach this message until there are no more people to speak to, which pretty much means Isaiah needs to do it for the rest of his life, and that message is to continue after his life also. Now, no one in their right mind would want to do that. God called Jonah to a similar impossible task. And that's probably why Jonah ran away from God, and God challenged him to speak words of truth to the people of Nineveh. Now, Jonah didn't want to do it, so he ran away until he could not run anymore, and there's the big fish in the middle of the story. But Jonah eventually came back to do what God had called him to do in the first place. Now, honestly, if we were in the situation that Isaiah and Jonah were in, we'd probably respond more like Jonah than Isaiah and hightail in the opposite direction from where God wanted us to go. Isaiah knew what God was calling him to do. Isaiah knew the message that God wanted him to say to a people who had absolutely no desire to listen to it. Would he have so confidently said, "Here I am, send me"? Probably not, but we don't know for sure. Nonetheless, before Isaiah knew what God was calling him to do, he said yes to God. And that's probably a testament to Isaiah's faith and confidence in God. Isaiah trusted that whatever God wanted him to do and wherever God wanted him to go, that was important. And that he ought to do it. No excuses or hesitations. Isaiah gives none. Now, throughout the stories of the Bible, when God calls God's people to go and do, it's never easy. And at first, it almost always seems impossible. God told Abram that he would be a father of a great nation, and that his offspring would be as numerous as the stars in the nighttime sky. God told him this, although Abram and his wife Sarai had tried for years to conceive a child and could not. And to add insult to injury, Abram was told to leave his home to go to a land he had never been to. And he was to claim that land as God's land for God's people. But Abram did just what God had told him to do. Moses was asked by God, by himself, to free the Israelite slaves from imprisonment in Egypt and to set course for that promised land that God had told Abram about. One man versus the great Pharaoh. But after some coaxing, Moses did just what God had told him to. Jesus was born under extraordinary circumstances, unimaginable circumstances. But his parents, Mary and Joseph, did what Jesus had told them to do. The whole life of Jesus was one of challenge, to make the impossible happen. Jesus was charged to break down societal barriers in order to establish a more just world that reflected the love of God. And his message was one of love before judgment and rightness. Like Isaiah, they did not come to God, but God came to them for a very specific purpose that only they could fulfill. Although they may not have verbally said, "Here I am, Lord, send me," like Isaiah did, they did respond to the call of God in their own distinct way. And as a result, it transformed their lives and the lives of those around them. So you thank God we don't have to. That's an act of the distant past. But hold on for a minute. We're not off the hook that easy. As a people, we have been called by the same God to what seems like an equally impossible task, to continue the ministry of Jesus. Yes, we are all different, and we are called to respond to God in a variety of different ways, but make no mistake, we are all called. Throughout the whole of our lives, we are called. We are called to bring good news of the love of God as evidenced in Christ to a people who are hurting and confused, even while we live comfortable lives, and would rather stay in the comfortable little boxes we have constructed for ourselves. We are called to challenge those unjust and unholy ways that are prevalent in society and culture, even when we really don't want to do it, because we know that it will be tough, nearly impossible to lie each lie. We are called to reclaim the image of Jesus, to be like Jesus, in a world that has painted and warped who Jesus really was. We are called to this impossible task. Each and every single one of us is the piece in the puzzle that makes this happen. How we live out this call is going to be different from one person to the next, just as it was different for Abrams, Moses, Isaiah, Jonah, Mary, Jesus, you. It's different because God has given us each uniquely and purposefully. In fact, whether we respond to the call of God in the first place is up to us. Make no mistake, responding to God in a faithful way is not easy. Worthwhile, meaningful, yes. But easy, no. Responding to God in a faithful way and responding to His call transcends the purposeful and intentional act of being a believer. Isaiah didn't say, "Here I am, I believe." He said, "Here I am, send me. I'll go for you, God. I'll go for you, God." When we respond to God and say, "Here I am, send me," it's not something that we can turn off and on as we please. It's not something that we can pick and choose when we are on and off. But it's a lifetime mission of responsibility. We will not always know, and most of the time we will not know, the way ahead that God is calling us and leading us to. But that must not prevent us from being faithful and going and doing, simply because we don't know or don't quite understand. So, my friends, I ask you, what is God calling you to do? And are you doing it? Not just thinking about it, but actually doing it. And the whole church said,